Hello, everybody, and welcome to National League Lowdown. As you can see, Dan's not here today. He's asked me to step up and try and host to the best of my capabilities in his absence. Don't worry, guys, he's not just hiding because Carlisle lost again yesterday. He is unavailable, but he will be back on our next podcast. And for him, he'll be hoping Carlisle can stop the Rock. We'll be on to that in our predictions later. Today, I am joined by Louis. How are you, mate? Are you well?
Yeah, all good, thank you, all good. Yeah, it won't be no plan, no down. We'll have a great podcast without them.
Absolutely. Me and Louis have got some fantastic games to report on. Louis, maybe not so much in his 6 in 6 that Louis is going to do for the first time for us later. So without further ado, let's crack on with the Truro win. Truro 5, Morecambe 0. Louis, what a result. One not many people saw coming. I did predict Truro to win in the predictions and got a little bit of stick from it from the others. So I was proved right, but definitely didn't see a 5-0 coming, did we?
No, not at all. I want whatever you were drinking the night before for your predictions, I think. Yeah, I mean, credit to Truro. Outstanding win. Just exactly what they needed. And you were saying on the podcast last time, they needed something. They needed something to sort of hang on to because it was looking like they were sort of falling away a bit. But no, a five-star performance and a 5-0 win. And yeah, well deserved. Absolutely well deserved. I think Morecambe were at sixes and sevens for a lot of the game. Weren't helped by Maldini sending off. But yeah, a cracking win for Truro at home.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought I put on my notes that they definitely needed that, but we talk about the sending off, but I think they could have been 2 or 3 up before Archie Mayer did make some good saves before the sending off. But Morecambe, probably their worst day at the office this season. One day where Truro's only scored 4 goals in 11 fixtures before this one and scored 5 on the day. It'll be a day that Morecambe want to forget. What interested me the most, though, that was that they didn't change their start at all. As soon as they went down to 10 men, there wasn't anything changed in there. They still tried to play out. And I have put here a bit harshly, I've put Mayor by name, Mayor by nature, because he got caught playing out again for the second goal. And unfortunately, it's cost his team. And I feel like that's something I've seen on the highlights quite a lot in the last few weeks where he's played out from the back and it's been intercepted and then rolled across for a tap in. But yeah, for Truro, something they massively needed, and they'll be absolutely delighted with that. And for them, it will hopefully be the start of something special. And as we said, no one's been cut adrift yet. Morecambe have now gone down to last place in the league with Truro and Sutton just sitting above them. So yeah, no need to panic yet for Truro. But for Morecambe, how do you feel about them now? We had Dave on last week, and he was saying relegation doesn't even seem to enter his mind at the minute. Do you think it will start entering their mind after performances like that?
I think there has to be some sort of concern. As much as you can wax lyricals about the style of play that they have and some of the attacking football they have played in previous games is outstanding, but you can't sit bottom of the league and concede 3 goals a game and not you sort of not be worried about it. You can't rely on games in hand in this league. It is a relentless league, and I think their games in hand are Scunthorpe, Brackley, and Boston from the start of the season. Not easy games at all, and you don't want to be sitting there thinking you guarantee points in games in hand because if you get cut adrift and you've got Saturday, Tuesday, you're really going to play catch up on the rest of the league. So yeah, credit to the football that they're playing, but if they're not getting results, then they're going to start worrying. And yeah, I think there's a bit of naivety in their play at times. But yeah, full credit to Truro because that result was as much as Morecambe's pretending was bad. Truro were absolutely outstanding. I thought Hisani was outstanding. Jeff obviously could have nearly got a hat trick. I think he hit the bar in the 90th minute. And yeah, I think for Morecambe, you can't rely on having those games in hand as banking points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they will start to maybe panic a little bit down there, but as we've got to the quarter part of the season, there's still many games to go, and they are, as you said, coming thick and fast with games again midweek and then next Saturday before a little breather for the FA Cup, which we'll get onto a little bit later as well. Moving
Yeah, I
on.
think
Sorry, go on.
I think
Sorry,
that
sir.
has I think that has to be the springboard for Truro, though. I think they really have to use that result as momentum. They've beaten a side around them in the relegation zone. They've got Eastleigh at home in midweek, which, if you're at home against a side that's coming to you, I think it's their first home game in midweek as well, potentially, or maybe not all the shot, I'm not sure. But you have to use every advantage you can get. And I think they'll have to look at that game and think, just get back to back wins on the board. Let's start building some momentum. So I think they've been unlucky this season. They lost the odd goal to Southend, to Rochdale. They were in the game against York. They lost in the last minute to Boreham Wood. So I think if they start building momentum, then confidence can grow within that side. But yeah, absolutely great win for them.
Absolutely. Moving on to Dan's team next, the Carlisle boys. Unfortunately for Dan, it's back-to-back defeats against. I was going to use the word fellow title challengers, but the way Carlisle are playing, we probably got to drop the word fellow and just say they're not quite in that reach of the top three. The York, the Forest Green, and the Rochdale. Look at the moment at maybe that step above Carlisle, but yeah, it had to be. There was always only going to be one man that scored against Dan's team, the man that Dan has raved about all season long. Well, I say all season, even in pre-season, he was predicting him. Manny D popping up with both goals. The first goal, there was a little bit of controversy whether it had been awarded or not, I saw, but it didn't matter anyway because I believe it was Devante Rodney smashed in the rebound anyway. But Manny D delighted to get off the mark after 6 minutes, and it looked like it could have been more and more in that first half. They were really knocking on the door. But as we know in football, there's only takes one chance, and Carlisle had a massive one right on the halftime whistle, which was turned wide. A poor effort, to be fair, by the midfield runner. And then Rochdale came out. Manny D scored again in the second half and controlled it. And for them, it's almost the perfect away day. Go to a team that you're supposed to be competing with at the top, score 2 goals. Your top scorer has added to his tally. Your goalkeeper's had a fairly easy day, hasn't made any major saves, I'd say, in the game, but his distribution and his calmness there was brilliant as well from Oliver Watmouth, a name we've mentioned very often as well, and get the clean sheet. So job done. Anything you want to add on that one, Louis?
Yeah, as you said, it's been a disastrous week for Carlisle. I think, flying high and thinking they're going to win the week by 10 points, as Savage said, on 6-6, and then crash back down to earth. Just Rochdale were the better side throughout. Could have had numerous chances. I have to shout out to Thomas for that first goal, basically trying to do a roly-poly, trying to keep the ball out with his head on the line, I think, with it, not realising it's touching his hand. Yeah, he tried everything to keep it out, but ultimately he didn't. But I think, as you said, Dale could have been miles ahead, and I don't think Dan's going to be CEO of the Manny D fan club for much longer. Yeah, on a Rochdale point of view, there's 6 wins on the bounce now, absolutely flying. I think on points per game, they're top of the league ahead of Forest Green, and I think all eyes are on that sort of Forest Green Rochdale game next Saturday, which I'm surprised the zone haven't picked up on, but that could be a cracker.
And it just makes you think as well, though, how good of a position could Rochdale be in if they didn't rotate the 11 men in that game against Brackley, their only defeat of the season. And as you said, they've got games to catch up on as well. I believe they're 2 games behind Forest Green at the moment, but only 1 point. So they're in a fantastic performance. And as you say, they're possibly net top of the league, if you want to call them that, on points per game at the moment. But as we said, with Morecambe games in hand, and not necessarily mean points on the board. But when you're in the form they're in, you want them games to be coming thick and fast. Let's move on to there's always goals at Halifax, I've called this next segment, and there was 6 there yesterday. Louis, would you like to talk us through this one?
Yeah, I think a couple of the goals are ones that Aldershot will not want to see back. That first goal, I mean, the header from the defender isn't great, but then the goalkeeper goes and makes it even better with the slice clearance that they can just tap into the net for 1-0, and then an absolute stinker for the next one from the goalkeeper, I think, as well. He's caught in no man's land, and it's a lovely finish from Cook in the end. And I think if you're Aldershot, you shoot yourself in the foot being 2-0 down after 11 minutes. I know they score goals for fun, but you can't rely on bagging every week to outscore your opposition and win 4-3, 3-2. And yeah, it was an absolute mountain to climb. It's 1 win in 7 now for Aldershot, and a big game at home against Braintree on Tuesday night against Yola.
Yeah, against a team that doesn't score many away, so it'll be an interesting one and potential chance for them to bounce back. Marcus Dewhurst, we've sung his praises the last couple of weeks. He seems to have been a catalyst to their defensive record, kind of steadying a little bit over the last couple of weeks. But he'll want to forget yesterday as quickly as possible, as he was probably at fault for at least 2, if not 3 of the goals. And I've heard comments saying he could have potentially saved all 4. So a day he'll want to forget. But Halifax now, it's only 1 defeat in their last 7. We were worried about them after a slow start, maybe adjusting to the new manager, but they'll be delighted now. They're only 1 defeat in 7. And as we said earlier, it only takes moments to get yourselves back up towards the playoffs. And they're now sitting in 9th, just below Southend, who are in 7th, holding that last position in the playoffs. But they're probably one of the form teams in the league right now. So I know I get a little bit stick from a couple of them on Twitter because Halifax are the only team I haven't predicted to win a game yet this season, which shocked me as well, to be fair, So we'll find out later if I predict them to win this coming midweek. I can't remember. I don't think I have because I think they're playing Rochdale. But yeah, Halifax will be delighted with that, and yeah, they seem to have had that adjustment period under a new manager, and now they're flying and making their way towards the playoffs.
Yeah, it's 3 wins on the bounce now as well, isn't it? And I know Mark has sung the praises of Lakeland before, but obviously the stuff he did at Curzon Ashton, the way he sort of transformed that club into promotion contenders, playoff contenders in the National League North, it's no surprise that he sort of got the most going at Halifax. And obviously they were playoff challenges under Millington before, but it was such a big squad turnover in the summer. Obviously the change of manager, and yeah, he's done an impressive job. And I think difficult game in midweek, but they might continue a good bit of form if they manage to keep a clean sheet or get a point in midweek.
Yeah, if you're going to have to go and play against the Rochdales, the Forest Greens, those kind of guys, you want to do it full of confidence, and that's exactly the position they're going to be at now. And I'm sure, as we said with the title here, there's always goals at Halifax. There will be goals in that game, and they'll be hoping to net. With Cook scoring a few at the minute, Hamani's been in the goals as well from midfield. I know he's played at centre-back at times this season. There's definitely goals in that team, even if they're not always coming from the number 9. They haven't maybe got a Manny D type figure up there, but the goals are coming from many different angles. As we move on now to probably, for me, the shock result, despite this team being unbeaten, and that's Southend 2, Southend 0, Scunthorpe 2. And Scunthorpe will be delighted with this result. They've kept their unbeaten records. Obviously, they've got a little bit of catch up to do in the league as well, but they're sitting 5th on 22 points from their 10 games. Obviously, they've got to go and play Eastleigh again, and I believe they were due to play Morecambe, as said earlier. So they've still got 2 games to catch up on, but from their 10 games, they're flying. And for the first half, though, it looked like Southend were having all the better chances in this game. They were on top, but I've mentioned the name Will Evans here. I think he's made our team of the week as well. He made 2 very crucial blocks at 0-0. One blocking a goalward shot, and one he's just managed to slide across at the right time and stopped Harry Boyes rolling across for Dallas to tap home an easy open goal effectively. And then in the second half, Scunthorpe had a little new lease of life, and it helps when Beeston scores a fantastic half volley. It was an excellent goal and worthy of being in their goal of the month competition that will be arriving in the next week or so. And there's going to be some competition this month, let me tell you. But then the second goal, one was all about individual beauty. This one was all about the team move. It was a fantastic team move. And then Sellers Fleming opened up his account for Scunthorpe. And that just shows the depth they've got. We talked Joey Dawson last week. We talked Danny Whitehall. We've talked Declan Howe. We've talked Callum Roberts. And now adding Sellers Fleming to this as well. They've got an abundance up there, haven't they, of attackers, Louis?
Yeah. Typical away performance from them. Clean sheet, 2 goals. As you said, lovely finish for the first one. And yeah, they are flying at the moment, really flying. A lot of people sort of tipping them to do quite well. But I think Scunthorpe fans would be absolutely delighted with this start. I think I heard on the zone it's their longest unbeaten start to a league campaign ever as well. So absolutely outstanding from them. From Southend, I know it's one win in 5 now for them, but I don't think I'm too worried about them. I think, as you said, they sort of edged the first half. They had quite a few chances, and on another day, they probably could have been 1 or 2-0 up at half time if they'd have taken their chances. And I think in the previous games where they haven't won, they've had numerous shots and attempts. I think against Boston, I think I saw on SofaScore their XG was like 5 or something ridiculous. So it's just putting the ball in the back of the net, getting that bit of luck in front of goal. And I think after midweek, they've got all the shot on Morecambe as 2 games in a row, and they're the 2 worst defences in the league. So yeah, I don't think it's much to worry about from a Southend point of view, but from Scunthorpe, absolutely flying, with full credit to them.
Yeah, I had that in my stats as well. Obviously, they've only won 1, drawn 1, and lost 3 of their last 5. They've now lost to Wealdstone, to Scunthorpe, and the other one's not coming to me at the moment. We'll move on. It'll come to one of us at some stage, probably straight after the podcast. But yeah, they've lost 3 of their last 5, but Kevin Myers, an established manager, he's experienced. He'll get them out of this, and it might be a little look in the loan market since a few injuries have crept up. Some key players have been missing. They've not quite hit the ground running as much as they wanted, but they're still sitting in the playoff space right now. So they're not in the worst position, Southend, but they want this rot to stop quite quickly.
Looking ahead as well. I mean, Scunthorpe have just seen they've got York and Carlisle in the next 2, so that'll be a really test for their mettle. and to show whether they're really, if they do win those games in hand. Obviously, we said you can't predict games in hand. If they do win those games in hand, if they go and perform well against York and Carlisle, there's absolutely no doubt that they, fans would expect them to be, title challengers potentially with their games in hand if they pick up the points. You're unbeaten, had a great start, and if you go and compete against the bigger sides in the league, there's, no absolutely fair play to them.
Yeah, we've talked in the past about that. It felt like there was a 5 and then Scunthorpe and Boreham Wood, but actually, I'd maybe question that. There's a 3 at the moment. There's York, Forest Green, Rochdale, and then you'd argue Scunthorpe and Boreham Wood are kind of in that little bracket now with Carlisle, with Southend, maybe even slightly above them in that not the best of the rest, but having a really good, strong chance of getting into the playoffs. And as you say, if they can get this unbeaten run, the sky's the limit for them. The sky's absolutely the limit.
Yeah, whatever happens, it's going to be entertaining, I think, right to every game that sort of happens in the last minutes and everything.
Absolutely. And that brings us quite nicely onto, I've put a stalemate between 2 of the league's best teams, Forest Green and York, a 1-1 draw. I'll start with this one. Both managers in pre-match and post-match were very kind of full of praise for each other's teams and the setups and the styles. And they've talked about both teams being League 2 ready effectively. But obviously, due to the current promotion standings and how it sets up, only one can go up automatically. So they'll be hoping that will be them and not the others. But yeah, Forest Green grabbed an early goal. It's a fantastic finish from Cairo Mitchell. And then Joe Felix was brought down about 8-9 minutes later. And Ollie Pearce, who else would you want over the penalty, rolls it in the corner. And then it kind of went into a little bit of a lull. York were probably edging it to a degree. And then Savage made 2 half-time changes. He talked about this, about he doesn't have 11 starters in his squad. He has 22, 23. So he can always flip it. He can always change it. And you'd say that they then edged it. They missed a few gilt-edged chances for a screen to nick the win. But it did feel like 2 very, very, very strong sides cancelling each other out for me. And eventually that's what ended up. And not particularly a bad point for anyone. But if you say it suits anyone, it probably suits York as the away team, I'd say, Louis.
Yeah, it's been a good week for them. 4 points against Carlisle and Forest Green. I think York fans would have taken that beforehand. I think this is a good advert for National League football. I think both managers said that afterwards. 2 very good sides end up being played out a bit like a chess match. Each sort of team had a bit of a go, had their sort of stages in the game. Some absolutely unbelievable defending. I know we shared it on our social pages, but that header up the line from Innes is absolutely outstanding. So it's a really good football on show. And I think Forest Green probably, I think Savage said in his post match, he's quite disappointed they didn't win. I think they were the better side second half. I think, as you mentioned, the substitutes that were made really did change the game. I think it sort of pushed York back a bit, and it gave Forest Green a threat, especially down their left flank. I think the left back who came on, I can't remember his name, was made a big impact on the game. But yeah, Pemberton and Pearce both had chances for either side in the second half. I think Pearce will probably look at that free header that he had and sort of think that he wished he put it in the back of the net, because that was a really good chance for York.
He's only, I believe, I'm always going to say I believe because I can never be 100%. So I think he's only scored 1 goal from open play so far this season, Ollie Pearce. He's got a nice total, but he's been pretty prolific. Other than the 1 miss against your boys on opening day where he scored 1 missed one, I don't think he's missed the penalty, but he's had his fair share. But when you've got the attacking talent in there, the chances of one of them lads winning you a penalty is quite high. But yeah, he'd probably be looking to add a few more from open play as the season goes on. He's notoriously a slower starter. I think it took him 15 games to get to where he is already. So he's ahead of schedule as such for this season. But I'm sure he'll be looking for a few more from open play. Moving on to the game I was at yesterday. Sorry, mate. Go on.
And York have played obviously less games than a lot of the teams around them as well. So he's got that sort of couple of games to catch up on and maybe score a couple in as well.
Absolutely, yeah, couldn't agree more. Moving on to the game, I was commentating for the Zone yesterday, and we've called this Gateshead Stop the Rot. Gateshead, who were winless in 7, really looking to struggle, and I think the fans who did travel, about 25, 30 of them, from Gateshead all the way to Braintree, will come in quite pessimistic mood, but after a very, very fast start from them, 15, 20 minutes in, they were 2-0 up and they were absolutely flying, and they played us off the park, to be fair. I'll give them a lot of credit. They were probably, in that first half, the best team I'd seen us play against this season in terms of football in the centre half. So, Williams was stepping out. from the back, very confident. It's his first start for them in the National League, and within 4 minutes, he's played a lovely diagonal ball to Kane Adam, who's hit it probably a bit earlier than a few of the Braintree players, and especially the Braintree goalkeeper was expecting, and he's been caught out. But let's give the credit to the ball and the finish rather than looking at the goalkeeper on that one. I think it was a fantastic ball and a great finish. And then we spoke about Scunthorpe's second goal earlier, and Gateshead was very similar. It was a lovely passing move, but again, Williams just strode out from the back with an elegance and played a couple of 1-2s. One with Frank Noble, swept it wide, and then it was played across. I can't remember the player's name, but my co-commentator kept calling him the Gateshead Zidane because he looked just like him, and he was playing some fantastic football in there. And then Hirsch just tapped it into the back stick. It was a good finish, but a finish you'd expect the player to make. And then they dominated, and they didn't have anything clear cut, but they were just so confident on the ball. And then Braintree made a slight tactical tweak, just about 10 minutes to go in the first half, and got on top to a little bit without creating too much before coming out second half a little bit more rejuvenated. And then Terrell Works scored from a James Vennings assist. It was a good little reverse ball in the box, and Works fired it across. And then it felt like Braintree could kick on. There was for about 3-4 minutes, there was nerves in the Gateshead defence. At the start of play yesterday, they did have the worst defensive record. That you thought Braintree could easily win this 3-2. But then after that 3-4 minutes, they weathered the storm superbly. Their game management was good. They played up to Noble, and the ball stuck to him. He brought fouls. He was getting players involved. He was getting them up the pitch. Exactly what you'd want your striker to do in that situation. And then there was a contentious moment. I don't think the zone actually managed to show this. They show the last bit where the goalkeepers launched the ball up to Kane Adam afterwards. There was a massive scramble. Braintree are convinced it went over the line. From my angle, I honestly had no clue if anyone was watching the commentary live. I basically said I have no idea what's happening. It was like a sea of bodies in there. And there was cheering, there was moaning, there was shouting, there was convinced it was over the line. And then the goalkeeper suddenly emerged with the ball out of this crowd of players, and nearly put Gateshead on the counter attack as well. But yeah, I can't comment if it went over the line. From where I was, there was 10, 15 players in the way, so it's very, very difficult. So I'm not going to sit here and say Braintree are robbed of a point. There are people that believe that opinion, but for me, on the basis of the performance, Gateshead fully deserved the win. If it crossed the line, yes, it's disappointing, but the performance didn't ultimately deserve that much for me for Braintree. And Gateshead got what they deserved, and for them it will be the start of something going up, hopefully climbing that table, because they were probably a lot lower than they planned to be before that game. They were sitting 19th before that game. So the only way is up, hopefully for them, of course.
Yeah. I wondered what was going on because, as you said, the zone didn't show that scramble in front of the goal, and all I
That
heard
might have
you
been
say
because I
was,
was commentating saying I don't know what's going on.
yeah, all I heard was you saying I don't know what's going on. I was like, well, Dom's on the attack here, mate. But yeah, it's a cracking win for Gateshead. I think a much needed win. Is it first win in 7 for them, isn't it? And yeah, I just want to highlight Kane Dom. We obviously had him on loan last year. I think I mentioned on a previous pod, and he didn't really show his talents, but he's got 7 goals for the season now. And he's absolutely flying. 7 goals from the right wing position as well as a very good total for him. And most prolific spell of his career, I think, looking over his career stats earlier. And I think if he carries on that vein of form, there'll be a few clubs from the Football League sniffing around for his signature in January. Absolutely, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Great result for Gateshead. And we now move on. It's Louis' first time doing this. We're going to move on to the 6 in 6. I'll be surprised if this week does last 6 minutes, because there wasn't many goals in this game, shall we say, Louis? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think I've been given an absolute stinker, haven't I? So we'll start with the 12:30 kickoff. Typical 12:30 kickoff for a DAZN game. Finished Boreham Wood 1, Woking 0. Managed to catch the first half before I went to Sutton. Matt Rutch's 5th goal of the season. Right place, right time from the long throw in. And Wood are absolutely flying. They're unbeaten in 10 now. But on the flip side, Woking have won 1 in the last 6 and find themselves in the relegation zone. I think it's worrying times for Neil Ardley's men. Moving on. Got Hartlepool 1, Tamworth 1. A very, very good point for Tamworth. They seem to be picking up points comfortably. They've got a couple of games coming up that you think that they could take 3 points from. It's 1 defeat in 9 for them now. Lovely wing play from Naruru on the left-hand side, and a good cross to the back post, which Lynch headed in. And then Verdane Oliver, EFL journeyman, bags his first goal for Hartlepool with a tap in at the back stick. But it's 1 win in 8 now for Hartlepool, with Carlisle and York to come. They've got the best defence in the league, but the joint worst attack with the goals scored per game. So if they could fix that up, they might start pushing up the table again. We've got Solihull 1, Brackley 0. Scrappy goal late in the game from Creaney to give Solihull the win. A very odd celebration, completely out of the blue, just jumps over the advertising hall and straight into the crowd, and you're wondering whether he's going to reappear as he's mobbed by the Solihull fans. And it's a first defeat in 5 for Brackley, but I think they've got nothing to worry about there. I think they're a good side, and it was just one of those games that got away from you in the end. Next one we'll go on is the game I was at, Sutton 1, Boston 1. Another poor game, really, between two fairly poor sides, I think. Lovely free kick from Carson in 30 minutes, up and over the wall, leaving Sims with no chance. We huffed and puffed in the second half. We had a few half chances, but I don't think we created anything clear cut until the last couple of minutes, where Bogner came on, deflected cross, loops over Lynch in goal. He was named man of the match despite being on for 4 minutes. I think that says all about Sutton's performance. But just shout out to Reece Lovett, an absolutely outstanding save at the end from Jack Taylor, sort of a bundle in the box. And a hard volley from Taylor was clawed away on the left-hand side from Lovett. But I think a point for either side is no good, and it leaves us in 22nd and Boston in 19th. We've got Wealdstone 0, Eastleigh 0, point on the road for Eastleigh in Scott Bartlett's first game. It was all sort of swung on the sending off at Aaron Pierre in the 50th minute for a second booking. 1 win in 9 now for Wealdstone. Slight worry, they might need to pick up a few wins soon, otherwise they could sort of drop down the table. And lastly, from the National League roundup, we've got Yeovil 1, Altrincham 0, back-to-back wins for Yeovil under new management. Good header from Williams, but I'm not sure what he's doing that far up the pitch in open play, being a central defender. 4 defeats on the bounce now for Altrincham, but I think they've had quite a difficult fixture list. But also, I think they'll pick up soon. And there we go. It's finished, wrapped up.
Excellent, perfect, Matt. I believe you wanted to do a little bit of an FA Cup recap. Obviously, National League teams have not entered yet. They enter tomorrow, I believe, the draw is. I think it's live on TalkSport around 1 p.m. That's Monday. Obviously, the podcast will probably be released on Monday. So have a listen to this and then go and find out who your team's got in the draw. But Louis wanted to just have a quick recap of the FA Cup from yesterday as well.
Got 3 fixtures, 3 results that I want to give a shout out to. Shout out to Whitstable Town, making it to the 4th qualifying round of the FA Cup for the first time in their history. They got a 2-0 win over ex-National League Southside Hungerford Town. And I believe they started their run in the extra-preliminary round, which was the first weekend of August. So it's been a long campaign for them. But they're hoping that maybe they can get another lower ranked side to get through to the FA Cup first round for the first time in their history. Big win for Spalding United. I think it was just a shock of the round. They beat Dagenham Redbridge 2-1 at home. Spalding in step 3 of non-league, so 1 division below Dagenham Redbridge. But considering the budget that Dagenham Redbridge have got, you'd expect them to sort of turn up and be able to be.
I believe it was an ex-Braintree player with the winner in that one, Jack Roberts.
Yeah. They're doing all right, I think, from Spalding. I think they're just outside the playoffs in their division, but it's been an awful season for Dagenham so far. I think they're in the bottom 4 in the National League South as well. It just adds to their misery. And then I'll give out a shout out for Marks Macclesfield with a 2-0 win over Nantwich. And we're all hoping that they pull Forest Green in the next round, I think.
Absolutely, we are. Yes, so that links us on quite nicely. Obviously, Dan and Mark aren't with us tonight, but they've still given us their predictions. So we will now crack on with the predictions. So I will start first with some exciting news if you're a fan of Mark. Mark has won his first week of 12. It is his first victory, and he scored a massive 20 points this week. He got 2 perfect results and 4 correct results, taking him to 20 points. The guests were second with 17. They always seem to do well, the guests. And then myself beating Dan, I got 10 points. Dan got 6. But all that does is give the guests even more of a gap to us too. The guests are approaching the 200 mark, so I expect Louis to get them over them this week. They're on 195. Dan's on 171. I'm on 157. And Mark's closing the gap now with that big score this week, and he's on 143. But yeah, we'll move on to today's game. So I will give you Dan's, myself, and Mark's predictions, and then we will get Louis' as well. So we start with my boys away at Aldershot. Aldershot versus Braintree. Dan has backed Aldershot 2-1. Mark has backed Aldershot 3-0. I have also backed Aldershot 2-0. Is it a clean sweep, Louis?
It is indeed a clean sweep. I'm going with Dan. I'm going 2-1 Aldershot.
Absolutely. I think that's one where Braintree have struggled away from home. I know we got the win against Eastleigh, but interesting, you've got no shutouts in there. You've got no clean sheets, which doesn't surprise me with either team, to be fair. Next up, we've got probably one of the informed teams in the league against one of the teams that are not informed, shall we say, in a polite way, and that's Boreham Wood versus Southend. And Dan expects Boreham Wood train to keep going. He's gone for a 2-0 Boreham Wood. Mark agrees, but he's gone for 2-1 to Boreham Wood, whereas I've gone for a 1-1 stalemate in this one. Louis, where are you heading on this one?
Yeah, I think this could be an interesting one. I think Southend will probably travel well, and I've gone with 1-1. I think this could be a close game and a point of peace at the end of the day.
We're on the same wavelength on that one. Boreham Wood will keep their unbeaten run, though, that's been going since the opening day. They only lost on the opening day. They've been unbeaten since. Now, the next game is one that we're expecting goals in. Morecambe versus Gateshead. Dan's expecting 6 goals in total. He's gone Morecambe 4, Gateshead 2. Mark's expecting Morecambe's first clean sheet of the season. He's gone for a 2-0 Morecambe victory. I've gone for my old friend. I've gone for the Desmond 2-2.
Yeah, again, I think goals in this one. I've gone 3-3 between the two of them. Two of the worst defences in the league. Obviously, Morecambe have got their forwards for goals, and Kane Dom's on fire. So yeah, I can see this one being an entertaining watch.
Yeah, we talked before we went on air about maybe Tuesday's games not lighting too many fires in people's minds on wanting to tune in. I'm going to be tuning into Braintree. I can't travel to Aldershot. You'll be at the Sutton game against Yeovil, I'm sure. But as a neutral, if you're going to pick one, that would probably be the one you'd expect the goals from, the Morecambe Gateshead game. The next game, maybe not so many goals in we're expecting, and that is Solihull Moors at home to Woking. Dan has gone for 1-0 to Solihull. I've backed them 2-0 this time to keep up their good form. They've turned a corner a little bit under their interim manager. Marks, we always say he's got to have one. He's gone 0-0.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Mark here. I think this would be 0-0. I think Woking have been really poor recently. And yeah, I think Solihull have turned a corner. But again, I think this one would be 0-0.
And then the game you're at, so I'll get your prediction first for this one. Sutton versus Yeovil.
I hate to say this. I think Yeovil with back-to-back wins will have full of confidence, and I think they're gonna give us a bit of a hiding. I think we're going to lose 3-0.
3-0 away win. You, of course, hope to be proved wrong on that one.
Absolutely. I hope that we don't get any points from that as the guests. And I hope it's the other way around. I hope we win 3-0. But I'm really struggling to see where the positives come from for us at the moment.
Apparently, I'm the positive one here because I've backed you in a 2-1 victory.
Crumbs. Didn't you back us on Saturday as well?
Yeah, I think I did back you on Saturday. But you got a point. So I was half right, we'll call that one.
Yeah.
Dan has gone for a 1-1 draw, and Mark shares your lack of faith in your team here, shall we say, and he's gone for 2-0 to Yeovil.
I think I spent too much time around Mark and been listening to all his negativity about recruitment. It's finally worn off on me.
Absolutely. The next one we talked about, Mark, he lost his faith in Truro at the weekend, and they responded with a 5-0 victory. I think the first time he hadn't predicted them to do too much, and they won 5-0. And he's predicted Truro to lose to Eastleigh at home on this one. He's gone 2-1 to Eastleigh. So he's fully lost the faith despite that 5-0 win for them. Dan has completely agreed with him and gone 2-1 Eastleigh. I've gone the opposite way, and I think the Truro train is full steam ahead now, and they're going to win 2-1.
Yeah, I'm also thinking 2-1 Truro. I think, as you say, that win on Saturday is huge for them, I think. And I think, as I said, travelling down on a midweek game to Truro is not going to be easy for Eastleigh. And as much as I rate Scott Bartlett, it's going to be a tough game.
And that rounds out Tuesday's fixtures. So moving on to Wednesday, we start at Altrincham, where it be Altrincham versus Tamworth. Now, looking at mine, Dan and Mark's results, this is a game that's hard to call because Dan has backed the home side Altrincham to win 2-1. I've gone for the 1-1 draw, and Mark has backed the away team Tamworth 1-0. So where's your head at this one, Lee?
My one is a draw between these two sides, but I'm going for 0-0 in this one. I think Tamworth can keep them out, and I think Altrincham is sort of struggling at the moment to sort of get the back of the net.
The next game, Boston, who have picked up 4 points in their last 2 games and stopped the slide effectively, but tests don't come much tougher than Forest Green coming into town, and that's reflected in Dan, myself, and Mark's scores. Dan and Mark have both gone 2-0 to Forest Green, and I've gone 3-1 to Forest Green. Are you joining us on Forest Green here, Louis?
Yeah, it's a full house on Forest Green. I'm going 3-0 Forest Green. I think they'll come out of the traps after drawing with York. And I don't think Savage will like getting a point out of the game. I think he'll want to go and win another one. So yeah, 3-0, 3-0 Forest Green.
Next up is the team that loves the home clean sheet, Brackley Town. They're playing Wealdstone on Wednesday, and myself and Dan have backed them for another 3 points and another shutout. We've both gone 1-0 to Brackley. Mark agrees with us, but thinks there'll be a few more goals. He's gone 2-1 to Brackley. Where are you thinking, Louis? Are you got any case for Wealdstone in this one?
I don't think so. I'm quite negative on Wealdstone. As I said, one win in 9 for them earlier in the podcast, I think it was. And I've gone 2-0 Brackley.
That brings us nicely on to Dan's team, Carlisle, at home to Hartlepool. Carlisle, of course, have lost their last 2 games. Will they get back to winning ways? The answer from Dan and Mark is no. They've gone for a 1-1 draw on this one. I've got a little bit more faith in Carlisle because Hartlepool, as Louis discussed earlier, are not in a great run themselves. And I've backed Carlisle to win 2-1 on this one.
I've gone 1-1 as well. I think Carlisle will try and shut it out and try and get something out of it quickly. But I think Hartlepool could spring a few surprises on the counter attack.
Now, the game we spoke about earlier, because I'm yet to predict them to win a game, and this is Rochdale versus Halifax. Of course, Halifax is the team I haven't predicted to win, and unfortunately for them, I don't see them winning this one as well. Dan agrees with me. He's gone 3-1 Rochdale. I've gone 2-0 to Rochdale, and Mark's got his Desmond in here as well. He's gone 2-2.
I'll go 3-2 Rochdale. I think there's always goals with Halifax. And I think Manny D is obviously on good form at the moment. So yeah, 3-2 Rochdale.
And the next game, probably for me at the moment, 2 of the informed teams in the league and the blockbuster fixture of the week, I'd say, and that's York versus Scunthorpe. Dan's got his Desmond in. We talk about always wanting to get a Desmond. He's gone 2-2 here. I've kept the faith in York. I think that trade might go and defeat Scunthorpe and lose their unbeaten run. That have gone 2-1 to York. Mark's gone, they keep their unbeaten run with a 1-1 draw. Where are you heading with this one, Louis?
I think this is the toughest one to predict, isn't it? I think there's 2 very good sides, but I'm going 1-0 Scunthorpe. I think there'll be a classic away performance again from them. All the possession will be in York's favour, but I think Scunthorpe will edge it 1-0.
Excellent. So lots of variety on a few of them games, which means we can flip, but knowing like Louis got them all perfectly right, and the guests will keep high up the league. Thank you for joining us today. Obviously, no guests today, no Dan, no Mark. Myself, Dan, and Mark will be back on Thursday to review the last set of games. We did hit 500 subscribers over the last couple of days, so a massive thank you for everyone with that. Hope you've enjoyed the recent podcast. We've had some fantastic guests on. Louis been on a few times. We've had Dave from Morecambe, and obviously the most noticeable one we've had is Robbie Savage. We hope everyone's enjoyed, and we will see you again very soon. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.